Mr. Messenger.
Mr. Messenger, we're starting the meeting.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that all members are present. If everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes from the February 2nd meeting, oh, sorry, that was canceled. So that would be the January meeting. We need to approve the minutes from the January meeting. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the January meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Our February meeting was canceled because of weather. Okay, under old business, the first item would be Kevin Krulik giving us an update on the Stone Eater Bike Park.
Thank you very much. Just getting some room equipment connected here. While I am doing that, though, I've got handouts. Sure.
Thank you, sir.
I learned that in grade school.
Put your name at the top right-hand corner.
Yeah, I did learn something.
Your teachers would be so proud of you.
Mrs. Richmond?
Oh,
Hortense.
Hortense.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knew Hortense.
I didn't have her.
Oh, boy. Bless her soul.
That was fourth. Yeah, I had
Fourth
Mrs.
and fifth, yeah, sorry. She was,
I had Mrs. Walker here. I got two.
that, she could smell gum. Walk in her classroom, she'd smell gum immediately. Her and Mrs. Schinkel.
Oh, yeah. I remember her.
Trying to
Get her
think.
first name. Almost.
I can't think of it.
Yep. Okay. I'm just slow. They don't make them like that anymore, you know?
She always, we'd always go in with gum, and I smell gum, I smell gum. And then, of course, it's,
All right. Well, thank you. Again, here to talk about the bike park. Happy to do this tonight. It's almost been a year since I was before you. I think it was April last year. And obviously, a lot has happened in that last year, but yet very little has happened in terms of changes or development of the park. So we spent the better part of last year working through our issues and approvals with the county. Those are all behind us now, and really since the first of the year, we were able to get back into the design and start pushing the plans into a state where they're getting nearer to ready for construction. So that's where we're at, what I wanted to share with you tonight. In fact, I'll share the screen. You'll have all these things in front of you if you want to take a closer look. But this is the latest and greatest site layout plan of the park. Not a whole lot has changed since you last saw this. It's just more been refined a step or two. One of the things we did talk about with potential users of the park, user groups, NICA, other mountain bike organizations, that we'd always planned to have this central loop that's focused on family level riding that everyone can do, and that's still there, very much in the same shape that it even was a year ago. But we started saying it would be good if we had an opportunity to create riding trails that met the needs of other riders, more advanced riders. So that's really the major tweak that we made to the plan. And really the gray lines that you see, so these, I guess you can't see my cursor, but the gray lines there that you might see labeled XC1, those are the cross-country trails that are that NICA standard, that novice level riding trail that's always been there. The brown trails we've added are what we're calling skills trails that just get to another level of difficulty, another level of challenge for people people. So we feel like now the park is in a situation where it's going to be a good dynamic place for riders of all levels. There's still the skills park feature areas in the center of the park that can challenge riders, but now riders that want to be on trails working on those higher level skills will have those opportunities. So those are really around the perimeter of the site. So as we scroll here, you can see we're around the east side of the site. The golf course is just off to the right there. The brown trail again is that skills trail. The gray trail is the standard cross-country trail. Brown trail is actually intentionally gray or intentionally brown because it's a dirt surface. This is a small trail. This is 18 inches wide. This is something what they would call in the mountain biking industry a single track trail. So as we continue around following the cross-country trail, this hatched area that's also bound by the red lines there, that's the landfill limits. We can't have any true natural surface trails like just dirt in that area. So you see that all of these skills trails loops enter and exit in the natural areas, not in the landfill areas. So we jump over the landfill area there, and then there's another one. Again, there's still the standard cross-country trail, and then you're seeing the second skill trail break off and run up that east line. Something to note here is that there's a dashed gray line just on the right side of that skills trail. That's a 50-foot buffer, staying away from the property owner so that we can make sure that we can screen the trails from our neighbors. Again, we keep coming north, and you can see the cross-country trail loops around. The skills trail stays on that outside. Again, it loops back in. So this is really going to give riders a lot of options. You know, you can take a loop on the skills trail, you can take a loop on the cross-country trail, you can mix and match and create some dynamic areas. All of these areas, though, where they cross, we've got a series of gates, if you will. I mean, these are relatively small in scale. This is a 4x4 post that will have the ability to close that in the interest of maintenance, or if the trail is in need of repair, or if the trail needs to be closed because it's too wet to ride, whatever it might be, or if it needs to be closed for another event and just isolate the easier trails, you can pull that gate across there from the red dot to the green dot and close off that portion of the trail. Again, we keep coming around. Again, the color schemes stay the same. We get up along the north side. Again, we're staying away from the north property line by at least 50 feet everywhere. And we've got a skills trail loop that wraps around that northeast corner of the site. Other changes that we've really made really have to do with us getting into the details of what the county is going to require. The county is going to require landscape buffering. In fact, I'll pull up the landscape plan and show you what that looks like. Unfortunately, there's a lot of landscape buffering required. There's also fencing required as far as the county is concerned. So what I'm going to show you here in a second, as soon as it finishes downloading, is that landscape plan that we've been developing. And really this is a plan that we feel will meet the county's requirements, so we don't have to ask for specific approvals or variances related to this. So this is the landscape set of drawings that we've generated. Here is what a typical planting plan might look along the trail. We want to have some ability to change this landscape plan as we see fit with the terrain. So this is more a standard option of what the trail landscaping will look like, and that'll just be set in the field. Get through all the specifications and things here, and I'll show you. Zooming in here, this is along US 52. So, and we've shared some of these with Mr. Lastly. There's an extensive amount of landscape buffering that's required per the county's ordinance. And in fact, the county also requires a split rail wooden fence around the property. So we've added those things into the plan. Now, the county's requirements would say split rail fence around the entire property. We really don't want to do that because we don't think it makes sense, because there's fences on basically 3 sides of the property, or partial fences. Some are fallen down, some are very old. So really what this plan shows, and this would be a variance we would have to get, would be, so this is kind of southwest corner, this is the northeast corner. Again, landscaping there. Like in this area, we would just be maintaining and or repairing the existing farm fences. The existing woven wire mesh fences would be used on these areas. We think that is a variance for the county. We hope they will support it. We're waiting to hear back from them. So they've only had these plans since Monday. So this is really just hot off the presses here. So not a lot of people have had a chance to really see this. This is sort of the south area, again, just adding more detail. This hatching here in the center is really where our dry detention basin will be. So those are sort of wet tolerant seating, plants that can handle the water. The rest of the site is primarily either turf grass, lawn, if you will, or prairie grasses. So that's the overall plan. And as we begin to develop and get into the details of this plan, really this is, leads us to the next slide. And you have these before you. These would be cost estimates that we've generated. So you were handing out 2 cost estimates. The first one that I want to talk about is a 2-pager, so it's stapled together. Pull that up on the screen as well so we can see this. So we've had a bit of cost increases. There's not been a worse time to have a project planned and then shelved than 2021. If any one of you are involved in the construction industry at all, you know the costs have went through the roof. Availability of materials has went out of control. So there is some significant cost increase. So I don't want to scare you. We have a plan for this. So what you can see here before you is broken out these are large summary items. So at the top there, we've got the IDEM required site improvements. That's the other thing that sort of became more into focus. So not only do we have the clearing, which we're getting ready to start, the fill import, which has always been there, grading and seeding. We've now added a little more detail to what we think the groundwater monitoring well system will need to look like. And that has a total in there of $1.8 million. Now, we are pretty confident, we're still working with contractors, that we're going to get the earthwork donated because we're working with contractors that need a place to take a lot of dirt. And we need a lot of dirt. So we're thinking we'll actually see that number discounted by about $900,000. So then on the right there, the total column is what we would actually be paying. Unfortunately, the Boone County requirements are adding a lot of costs. So buffer plantings, the fencing that we're talking about, and this is assuming we can get away with split rail fence on one side, is still $487,000. Unfortunately, we don't see any discounts there, so that total remains the same. The venue is really the access roads, the ADA pathways, which will be sidewalks in certain areas of the park, primarily around the picnic area and things of that nature. Some signage, things of that nature to create the venue. And that $321,000 is the new cost there. We think there's about a $15,000 discount we can get by asking for donated utility poles. It's fairly common that utility companies like Lebanon Utilities and Duke Energy need to get rid of old utility poles, and we're going to try to utilize some of those things in the park. So it's a small discount, but it is one that we are tracking. Then you've got the cross-country trail system. Those are all the trails that meet the NICA requirements, those entry-level trails. As you can see, the trail infrastructure is very inexpensive. It's really only when you get into the landscaping and the IDEM requirements that costs get a little higher. And then the park construction items, these are really like the infrastructure. This is the roads, this is the parking lot, this is water main connections, things of that nature. Again, $300,000. So I add all those in, we're at about 3.2. Get the discount on the earth, we're at about 2.2. So the skills trails, the new things that we've designed and added to the park that wasn't there a year ago, that's about $114,000 to construct that. And then that brings us the total to 3.3 with the discount, 2.4. And then the bike park area, the kids track, the pump track, the jump lines, the skills park, those features, those add another $340,000, bringing the grand total to 3.6 or 2.7 with the discount. So that's where the project costs stand today as is. And we know that's a big number. 3.6 million, even if we can get it for 2.7, and we're confident we can, is still a lot more than what I told you a year ago. A year ago, I told you 1.419807. And so this is just a breakdown of showing you where the cost increases came from. So we've added 487,000 for county-related improvements. We've added 100,000 for basically the groundwater monitoring system. That gets to about 2 million. The skills trails, again, 115,000, not a big add, 2.1. And then really all the cost increases that we're seeing bring this to about 2.7. So that's how we get sort of to where we're at today. Now, let's switch to, I'm sorry, that was, I told you that
I was going to ask.
That was the one pager.
Okay.
Okay, my bad.
Hey, Kevin.
Hopefully
We followed you.
Yeah, we
follow
got
me,
it.
I read that. So if you switch to the two-pager, so obviously we just got these costs Monday, and we worked through them all day Monday, because obviously I about fell out of my chair. And we've been cutting things out, and we've been trying to right-size a project that we think that we can live with and that we can afford. So this summary really breaks this down what we think the real project ought to be. Okay, so I've dropped down those IDEM required site improvements to the 874,000. So again, I'm banking on the fact that we're going to get the free dirt from the business park. And I've had good conversations with the contractor, which is a local contractor, American Contracting. They're excited about helping us out. And a local company now in New Coal that needs to get rid of a lot of dirt. They have not even opened their facility, but they're all already talking about expansion. So that's where the dirt source is. I've not discounted or taken any value engineering towards the Boone County improvements. Maybe we can have some conversations there, but I'm not going to go there just yet. We're going to see if we can make this happen. The venue, again, not a great deal of, well, there's some reductions there, dropping that down from 321 to 150,000. And primarily what I'm doing there is, unfortunately, we're losing the picnic area. We had a picnic area with sort of terrace seating and a picnic shelter, signage, some sidewalks. You know, it's going to be a really neat place. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a luxury that we think we can live with, or maybe think about as a phase 2 or a phase future, if you will. So we've dropped that from 321 down to 150. Still the 15,000 in savings for utility pole donations. The cross-country trails really haven't cut anything out of there. So the trail system is the focus. And as I went through this, and we've talked internally, and we've talked with the mayor, we kind of decided, get us a parking lot and trails. That's really what we need here. The pretty landscapes, picnic area was great, but you know, we don't necessarily need that to function. So that's really the same at 278. The park construction items, really the only thing we took out of there is some of our water and electrical connections that we were planning to make. And that really was because the next big cut is that we've eliminated the bike park area, the kids track, pump track, jump park, skills park. We've eliminated those features. You can see that's the last line dropped all the way down to 0. And if we aren't doing that, or excuse me, we're not doing that in the first phase, then we don't need some of the electrical and water connections that are really needed for maintenance of those areas. We've kept the skills trails in, again, trying to get trails and trying to get a usable trail network for everyone. And so we are down now to about $2.2 million is the total project budget. Keep in mind, we still want to do those other things, and there's only another maybe $500,000 there, but we're thinking those are future phases. Again, there's the budget scenario that I showed on the first page from 21 till now. I want to talk a bit about where our funding looks like right now. So the city has received American Rescue Plan monies, and that ordinance has been passed, and that allocated roughly $500,000 to the bike park. There's been commitments from council, if we meet certain other funding requirements, certain other fundraising requirements, that there would be another $500,000 essentially in general fund monies. And then where we have an identified source is the Sanitation Fund. The Sanitation Fund was created expressly for the purpose of operating the landfill. That fund has money in it that we aren't using to operate the landfill anymore. It does cover some of the trash collection service in town, but we're getting ready to renegotiate that and rebid those trash collection services. Sorry, not renegotiate, but rebid the trash collection services. So that money will stay there. Sorry to notify the public of this now, but your trash collection portion of your utility bill will increase, most likely. And we'll have money left in the sanitation fund. Right now, there's about $1.1 million in the sanitation fund. I'm only allocating maybe $500,000 from there. And again, none of these numbers have been approved. This is just me working through options on how we get back to a doable project. So there will be that money in the sanitation fund that we could allocate. So between those first three lines, that's $1.5 million. We've been working with our region on the READY Grant monies. So this project was listed under projects under READY Grant. READY is kind of another form of American Rescue Plan money, but it's coming from the state and is going to various regions. So our multiple county region has received like $6 million, and one of the projects on the approved list was the bike park. We're going to ask for $500,000 from that. But again, we're eligible, but we haven't locked that in. So if we lock that in, then we're at $2 million. We're really close. So far, we've actually raised about $200,000 in fundraising. Only about $29,000 of that, though, is actual monies that we can spend. Others is in-kind donations. So you can see we're at about $2 million, just a little more than $2 million. We've got a fundraising goal that we're trying to meet now. About $180,000 is our goal, and we're still going after that fundraising. And now that we've got updated plans, we feel like we can hit that really hard. The next page in that two-page packet, just so you know, these are what our donors look like. And you can see how I've broken them down in operating costs, construction dollars, which totals at $29,000, and then the in-kind services. These are engineers and consultants that are helping us put together the plans free of charge. So you'll notice there's no engineering dollars in this. Basically right now, other than some of the environmental consulting, which is already paid for, is coming out of these in-kind donations. And then our friends at the County Convention Visitors Bureau, gave us $100,000, or committed $100,000. That's really good, but it is to be given to us in installments of $20,000 a year for 5 years. So actually what I'm proposing is that is not for construction. That is something that we would give to the Parks Department to maintain the facility for the first 5 years. There's a lot of landscaping, there's a lot of prairie grass development. Prairie grasses, you would think they just naturally happen, but they don't. They require maintenance. So this would help to subsidize John and his crews making sure that we can maintain the park and get those prairies established over the first 5 years. And really, once you get to 5 years, you get the prairie good and established, then it's a little easier to maintain, and you're just bush hogging it a couple of times a year and removing any trees that might come up. So that's where we're at right now. I want to point out we've got other partners that have yet to commit things to us in terms of dollars. Marion University wants to be a partner on the project. Midwest Devo is a local youth cycling club. Sundance Mountain Bike Skills Clinic, they've offered to host skills camps here for us. So these are all things that are partners that will help round out the project. And we are still working really hard at those national level corporate sponsors like Trek Bicycles, SRAM Bicycle Components, to name a couple. Max's Tires, which has a distribution facility in Whitestown. So I feel confident with setting a goal of $200,000 in fundraising that we can get back to this scenario up here where we can fund a phase 1 park that is primarily trails and a parking lot at $2.2 million. and that we'll be able to fund that, and I feel pretty confident we will be able to fund that by the time we get to summer and be ready to break ground on the project. We're still going to move forward with the landfill improvements, and really those are things that I think we have an obligation to correct. These are things that we need to do to correct the groundwater table, like removing the trees, correcting drainage, putting in groundwater monitoring wells. In the meantime, we're working on that. We've got ARP money set aside. We've got sanitation money, some sanitation money already set aside that we can cover those initial expenses. But this is the roadmap forward. It's changed a little bit, and we've really done this out of a necessity to right-size the project to fit within a budget we think is doable. It really doesn't put any undue burden on the park system, the park board, or the city for that matter. And I've talked way longer than I probably should have, but
that's fine.
if there's anything I can do to elaborate or answer any questions, I'm happy to.
Kevin, on the 487,000 that the county is requiring, that is just all landscaping? There's nothing other than that?
Landscaping and fencing, and originally we had planned on the driveway into the site being asphalt, but the parking spaces being gravel. They don't allow gravel parking. So we've got money for asphalt, for fencing, and for landscaping, all landscaping.
So
The seating is separate. The seating is in the item required lines for reestablishing the seed out there, which you could argue that could be in different buckets, but that's where we put it for now, because really we'll have to seed it even if we don't do a park.
But the asphalt's in the 487,000.
The asphalt's in the 487,000. There's around $200,000 in asphalt, and then the rest is all the shrubs, trees, plants.
How many parking spaces?
50. So not a huge parking lot. I'm a little shocked that we're seeing those high of numbers for asphalt parking lots. If you would have asked me a year ago, I think that number was in the 75,000 range, and our engineers now are saying the costs are up to over 200,000. Again, I hope we can find that cheaper, and really I think the parking lot, well, the trails is such a specialized construction activity that I think we'll break that package out and bid it separately, and then the other package that we would issue would really be for the parking lot improvements. So I'm hoping we can get that cheaper, and in fact 200,000, that's even at the threshold where we could just ask for quotes. It wouldn't necessarily be a full-blown public bidding process. And if we get it to come in at 150 or under 150, then the quote process is a completely legitimate legal process to go through. If it really is 225, then we have to actually publicly bid that. So that's where we're at. What else?
I have a couple questions for you, Kevin. First of all, I really appreciate how you laid this out, and this takes a lot of time to figure out where you can pull from and all that, and it's very well explained, so thank you for that. Is there a thought that, I hate to see the picnic thing and all that get cut, because I can visualize events and things happening and that really enhancing the whole family experience or groups of friends or whatever. So, and you talked about phases. Is there consideration to formally create phase 1, phase 2, maybe phase 3 if need be, with timelines so that we kind of see like where this is going, so that we're committed to bringing that back in when the money becomes available?
I would love to see us make some commitments. Of course, that's tough to do, but they aren't big dollar amounts, so $500,000 for some of these things. I mean, granted, I'm not going to write a check for that, but those aren't.
It's all relative, isn't it?
Those aren't drastic numbers that are not attainable for a city our size, and especially a growing city. So I would hope that it would be no more than 2 years and we would execute the rest of those things.
Yeah.
But again, that's me just optimistically thinking about, the developed projects we've got coming. We've also got park impact fees that we've created, the tax revenues that will be increasing from the developments that we're seeing. So there's a lot of stuff going on that are, the city is in a strong financial picture. Don't get me wrong, we don't carry a lot of debt. We have good balances. But our financial picture is even going to get better in the coming years as these things begin to grow. And I think we all see that growth is coming at us like a freight train, to be honest.
So we could actually use the park impact fees for this as well?
You could, yeah. I mean, that'd be a park board decision to set aside. I think this would need to be adopted into your park master plan. I remember we were here last year talking about that, and we decided, because of everything that was going on with the county, to hold off on that decision. But once it's in your park master plan, then yes, park impact fees can be used to do any park improvement. But that would be a decision for the Parks Department and this board to make. But,
My other question is, and I just don't want to assume something, because a lot of this stuff, that's stuff I don't know much about. On the cross-country trails, can you be more explicit about what that means?
Yeah, so cross-country trails are going to be a gravel and dirt mixed surface. So the natural clay material would be mixed with gravel or stone of some sort. They would be in the order of magnitude of 4 foot wide to 12 foot wide in places. And, so it would be a sloping, undulating riding surface that would be designed to handle a novice level rider. I like to say it's a place that anyone that could ride a bike could ride, whether you're riding with your grandkids or you're riding for cardio improvements. You'll be able to do that, and really you could do that almost any bike, but definitely a mountain bike would be preferable.
So have we scrapped the idea of incorporating cross-country as in running cross-country trails in here?
No, that would be there as well. The cross-country trails, they're not allowed to run on those harder surfaces. Right. So really, if we do the cross-country running trails, and we would like to, I still think that's a great idea. Certainly Lebanon Community School Corporation likes that idea. Western Boone likes that idea. Really what that would be, between the undulations of the trails out there, mowing an area approximately 12 feet wide for the kids to run on. And so they could run there. They could cross trails in places. They just can't run on top of the trails. They could run also parallel to the trail, so it could be a situation where we mow 12 foot of grass down adjacent to the trail and they run on that. So I think we can still accommodate cross-country running. I would love to see it. I'd love to see the park really activated with that kind of
So that with the mowing that you're talking about, though, then that needs to be intentionally thought about, right?
Yes.
As this gets finalized?
It is being intentionally thought about.
Okay, great.
It's not a line on the plan that I can show you, but it's definitely something we always keep in the back of our mind that we need to find a strip of grass that's roughly 3 miles long. And that's not going to be hard to do on 110 acres.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Kevin, I just wanted to ask if you could send, because I know we put on hold taking the bike park under the park, but can you give us the IDEM and EPA reports?
Yeah.
And showing that.
I don't have all of those reports in place, but things have went well enough that IDEM has told us we can start moving dirt, that we can start clearing trees.
Okay.
We've submitted our groundwater monitoring plan. We've not seen any comments from them, but it's only been in their hands since early February. And then we're still answering, now that we have plans that we can actually, that are more refined, we're actually also then be responding the next couple of days to their engineering comments. We hope that goes forward, but the good news is that IDEM's already said, start moving dirt, start clearing trees. In fact, the trees have to be down by March 31st due to laws in Indiana protecting bats.
Right, okay, and but those are kind of things that I would like to see just to be comfortable, because it is a landfill, and I was there when I was a kid. But what about the well? Is the well still functioning out there?
I didn't even know there was a well out there.
Well, there was a house out there at one time.
I knew that, I guess it makes sense that there would be a well. I've not really seen any records on the well. Certainly don't know where it is. Perhaps it was capped off when the house was
And it could have been, but I was just
It would
wondering
have had to
about.
have been, I think.
Yeah.
9 wells are round to the side of it. Yeah.
Okay. I just wondered, because I know at one time, of course, the city water runs very close to,
Yeah, city water runs on the site, so, the water comes from our Sugar Creek Water Treatment Plant, kind of south, and basically hits 52 at the edge of the park, and then runs down 52 before it goes east across the interstate. So, yeah, water is not going to be a problem for us.
okay,
And connecting those water, and we did pull that out in the value engineering exercise, because it's really not something we need until we're maintaining those other skills, activities, areas.
Okay.
But water is going to be an easy
Okay.
thing to address.
okay. I would appreciate, and I think the board, just the reports as you get the pieces
Yeah.
from IDEM and EPA telling you to go forward, because, we've always had an interest in this, and,
Yeah.
okay. So,
Appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate this. This is, I also hate that we have to cut out the picnic area. I really hate to see that, but maybe if we can put phases.
We're postponing it.
Postpone. Thank you.
It was going to be a really cool,
I
large
know.
boulders and terraces, sort of almost, we had this idea of these terrace seats, walls built out of boulders that would focus your attention down to really a central gathering area. So you could sit at the top of the hill under a picnic shelter, or you could sit on the boulders. It's still a great idea and a great vision. It's just something where, I can't in good faith tell you we need to find a way to spend $3.6 million. We've struggled to get it to just over 2, and I think that's a palatable number, especially with the funding opportunities that I've laid out. I think these are things that aren't gonna cost the city, and in terms of the cost and benefits of what this park is going to cost and the amount of users I think we're going to see, compared to what it costs to build a soccer field or a tennis court, I think you're going to see far more people take advantage of this.
Well, and a different group of people possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And with with the whole picnicking area, that just adds another use. It's
Yeah.
beyond biking,
Right. And this is, this is an amenity that people are asking for. This is an amenity that is being built already in Zionsville as we speak. Fishers has already built mountain bike trails and has announced another park that will have more mountain bike trails. Carmel has mountain bike trails. We had kind of hoped we would be out in front of a lot of those. Unfortunately, situations didn't work out in our favor last year. But, and when I asked the Parks Director in Zionsville, John, and other staff members and I went down there and toured their mountain bike trail, why they made the decision to do this, or if they had any negative thoughts in the public over the mountain bike trail. He said, absolutely not. We're building this trail because the public asked for it. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing in sort of the park industry is people are asking for these types of improvements. And I can bore you with statistics on how actually, more people bike than play soccer, and more people bike than play tennis, so I think there's some validity and there's facts that we can share with you if you want to see those that show that people are doing this type of activity. People want these activities in their community, and we're just trying to answer the question. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, I have some old business. Is that what we're addressing now? So
Okay.
just update you, basic updates for the projects that we had, the old business. I'll start off with the playground. They have the outside concrete poured, the under drainage tiles being placed and tied in. Concrete front walk is framed. It'll be poured Monday. And the equipment that we ordered back in June of 2021 should be shipped by 3/16. I'll believe it when it pulls into the Little Tykes is doing that. We did have to put a deposit. I think that was in last month's claims for the no-fault surface to lock in the color that we had, which seems kind of crazy, but it's made down in Texas. There's a shortage of that, so to lock in, we had to put a partial down payment. Anyway, they're moving along very good. I'd say they're pretty well finished up in the next couple of weeks, weather permitting. This weather as of late's been good, but all these projects have been held up due to the wet weather, the freezing, the thawing, tons of rain. So those are some of the issues, but they've moved along very well. Very pleased with that. Look at a completion date, hopefully before the pool, right around the pool time opening at Memorial Day. The lighting project, we just had a progress meeting the other day, 50% complete with where they are, the boring and the hex screws. Those are those big metal screws they screwed in that the smaller light fixtures will be placed. They've been installed. There again, the panels have been installed, along with transformers have been placed in areas, a lot of boring going on. We might have a dark part for quite a few days. That's just going to happen. We're going to try to light up part of it at a time. Don't know if that's going to work out or not, but there again, moving right along. I think right now we have some problems with some bases that could be a delay in the project, and they actually were at least 30 days and hoping to be 60 days up on their schedule, which would put it, I think right now it's October to November to finish up this project, but they really would like to be all done by July 4th. Again, those fixtures were direct purchased back in June of 2021, and by the end of the month, hopefully they'll be here. Again, I'll believe it when I see them coming into the park. Going to our 5-year master plan, we had a stakeholder meetings. I'll just cover June or January and February a little bit. We had stakeholder meetings. Several of you attended. We also had a youth football group, the youth soccer group, just patrons, the stakeholders that use the parks. We had meetings with them, the planning, several council members, and several park board members. We will still get with all of you in time. We're still working on the master plan, but got a lot of great input. We also had an open house last Wednesday at the Herman B. Wells Room at the high school. Had 35 people show up, great turnout. Several of you were there, along with council members and the mayor. Great discussions that we had and a lot of good input. I think we've had well over 300 surveys that have been completed. You can still fill out a survey. I'd love to have more input. It takes you, what, maybe 7-8 minutes, maybe 10 at the most. You can comment. I love the comments. We had plenty of great discussions at the open house, but we read every comment, and you will be privy to that information very soon. I don't think I've sent that out to you. If any of you, my bad. I will make sure that that is done. And so you can see those and make a great determination on our 5-year master plan. Security cameras. There again, we will be upgrading some of our security cameras. We encumbered monies from last year to take care of the upgrades. Taking care of some of the old outdated cameras that aren't working so well, replacing those. We have in store the removal and reinstall when the lights come down, the lights go up. We're trying to keep those cameras out as long as we can, going that is. We do have plans to put, now that the conservation pond is, all the work's down there, we have electricity, so we will be putting trail cams out there and keeping an eye on the pond. Just so, I think we all discussed it before, but I just wanted you to know, as soon as all that work is completed, we will start work on the security cameras and making sure we have an eye on it to keep an eye on it. The pool expansion, we had a kickoff meeting with the engineering firm HWC along with Spear Corporation. Basically, we have over 400 surveys, again, that monkey surveys that were completed last year. A lot of input. That was before the pool closed. They kind of did in-kind services because they weren't paid until they complete this project, but knowing that we love their service, they went ahead and did that. Got a lot of good input, a lot of good ideas. We put that out. There will be more to come on that. It's probably a 6-month process on that, so we have plenty of time. There again, we'll want the park board's input on, well, we'll discuss it later on how we're going to move this thing and how you want this pool to expand. Tree clearing, as I talked about earlier, at the conservation pond, part of Abner Longley. They're approximately 70% complete. A lot of the small stumps and brush need some more attention. They aren't complete. They ran into bad weather also. The ground froze. They could do quite a bit of work. Then it thawed. Rains came, and I don't want a muddy mess down there, and neither do they. It makes everybody's jobs a lot harder. So they still have a lot to do down there, or about 20-30% more work down there. Again, as soon as they can get into that area and not tear up the grounds very much, they'll get in there. The water plant, the treatment plant that we swapped properties, if you remember some time back, that has started. I don't know if you saw a big double wide down there at the Conservation Club. What a construction trailer. The biggest one I've ever seen in my life. If you're down there, nobody's living in it, but that is a construction trailer. Needless to say, it's they cleared the trees last summer, again, because like what Kevin said earlier, the bats, you got to take care of them before April, so they wanted to get those down. They've tried to do some work down there. Again, they're running into all kinds of issues with drainage. They can't put the stone down, so they will be having to take care of the drainage first before they can get in there and really do the work. There again, that has started. You'll see some dozers down there, but they're installing all the sewer system right now, the storm sewer. And as soon as that goes, you'll see it going up pretty quick. The block that they're using is going to match our restroom, the split-face block. I thought that was kind of a call that had to be made pretty quick. I didn't contact you all, but hopefully that is appropriate to all of you. I thought it was nice of Ryan Ottinger. He's reaching out and communicating very well with us, with the utilities. I appreciate that, but he wanted to go ahead. It's going to have a fence around it anyway, but at least he wanted to reach out and say, hey, I thought I'd go with whatever you want rather than a painted block or anything like that. I thought we'd stay uniform with our restrooms and the split face that we have on our new restroom we built too. So hopefully that's approved. They're going to try and match the color and all that, and I will bring that to you as soon as we get that information. The Big Four Trail is going to start down there at the same time. We had a meeting today down there. I think, Shirley, you were out looking at the parks and checking them out down at the south side and ran into us. That's what all of us were parked down there. They are going to stage their equipment at the property that we swapped, that we own now. They're going to stage all their equipment there. They will make sure that when they leave the property, it is as good as or better than how they left it. That will be for all their construction to work on the trail. And they're going to start at Hendricks Drive down at Abner Longley and move towards the Conservation Club and then hug it and then go down Southeast Street. You'll probably see a lot of stakes. If anybody asked you, that's what those stakes are for. That's where they plan. They have a couple wetlands to adjust to. Plus, they have to work kindly with their neighbors there that are working on the water plant. So far, communication, everything's going well. Again, hats off to the utilities and Ryan Ottinger in running that operation. I think Boeing contractors are doing that, and I believe BF&S engineering is part of that also. But there again, completion in November 2022. The Big Four Trail, Calumet will be doing that work. Substantial completion is supposed to be October 1st of 2022. The last on the list is the lift station out at Reese Park. The same people that did all the construction back in that addition last year are going to be doing the work. Cosine, I don't know, industrial contractor, they're a good group, already met them. Also, BF&S Engineering will be taking care of all the engineering. Completion summer is sometime this summer. It shouldn't take them too long. They do have to trench. I think I sent that around earlier through Reese Park. I've communicated with the Lebanon Youth Soccer League on where they're going. It shouldn't interrupt any soccer leagues that they have going on. Sign-ups are right now, so if you haven't signed up for soccer also, be sure to sign up for Lebanon Youth Soccer. But as far as that goes, that's basically the information there. They will have to put a road along the creek off Maple Drive that will hug the creek to get to that lift station. It's not a big footprint, but just to let you know, that's some of the projects that we got going on just right now.
Quick question for you. Now that it's really becoming a reality, the Conservation Club properties, getting all the work that we've been talking about for a while.
Yes.
Is the plan to continue to call it the Conservation Club? Or, it is no longer a Conservation Club, so.
I'm struggling with that right now. Just like Reese Park, we never had a physical address on it, but we're getting a mailbox out there for Lebanon Youth Soccer. That's the thing that I'm working with public safety. They want to call it all Abner Longley Park, but if you Google Abner Longley and you try and get to the youth football or you get to the splash pad, it brings you to the corner over by Hendricks Drive. That address there is 701. Same thing with the dog park. We have to address that issue for public safety. Working on that right now. Same thing with the hot pond. It doesn't have a physical address. It's 700, I believe, East Noble. The Conservation Club was 701 East Noble. We got to get that ironed out. Working on it. There again, I don't know what we call it. For lack of better words, I call it Conservation Pond. I don't know, the dog park, but we do have to probably identify, but it is part of Abner Longley Park.
Could we hold a contest or something for to get?
Excuse me?
Could we hold a contest or something like for the community to help name some of those things?
I don't know. That's your decision.
Have you been getting good feedback from the contest that they're holding and the trivia and that kind of thing that they're putting out?
I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I think people are enjoying it a little bit. I think it's kind of new to everybody, so really haven't had a lot of feedback on it. I think it's pretty cool myself that we're doing that. Kind of gets you to thinking, but Abner Longley, that is part of Abner Longley, but for public safety, the fire and police are saying we really need identification. And the thing about the youth football and the splash pad is that's off of Beck Street, which there isn't a physical address for that either. So people say, hey, I'm at Abner Longley for the youth football delivery. Where am I going? And you have to wind them around to get to it.
You raise a really significant issue, and I can tell you when I was principal of the old Stokes and we were building Hattie B. Stokes, and there was a construction fire because of a welding issue at Hattie B. Stokes, the fire truck showed up at Stokes Elementary, the old Stokes.
The old,
Yeah, and we were in session there at that time, but the construction people were working at Hattie B. Stokes.
Yeah.
But there was confusion about that, and they both had the addresses of 1005, just different street. So I think the sooner the better that gets
I
nailed.
don't know how we're going to address the one at the youth football or the splash pad, but yeah, minutes matter.
It really
Now that
does.
we have a pond at Abner Longley, you can call it Abner Longley, they're going to go to the corner of Hendricks Drive. And that's bothered me ever since we started the splash pad. I really have run into it a little bit with youth football, but the splash pad, we do have an emergency button down there so they can locate it. I don't know, and maybe we need to look at an emergency button down there at the conservation pond too, where you can hit it. Something that we probably need to look at. That's just some of the many needs, but yeah,
Maybe
that
if
has to be addressed.
Maybe if you talk to public safety about that, and maybe Allison, if you'd mentioned to her about people coming up with a name, because I think they probably do need a different designation than Abner
I know the
Longley.
council, the last naming of a park was Reese Park, and that was named after a mayor that
A
had
former
served.
mayor, correct.
Yeah, passed, deceased, so there again, I'm open, whatever you
Okay.
tell me to do, I will take care of.
Well, maybe if you mention it to Allison, see if she has some ideas, like what Jessica said,
Okay.
and then maybe talk to fire and police. If we need to put some emergency button down there,
Yeah.
that's what we need to do.
That's,
I always call it Conservation Park. I really don't like to call it Conservation Club because then it starts a whole discussion on,
It does.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
And I think that's what some struggle with, is, well, the club's not there anymore, and it's not a club, and it isn't a club, it's part of the park system, so.
And when we're looking forward to having like a wildlife observation and that sort of thing, I like the.
We have some new signage for Abner Longley, also, I believe, Reese Park is getting reinstalled, and then the Arboretum. We have several of these signs that, obviously, the ground's froze, but they've come in. There again, when monies come in, we put those in. We're getting ready to install those. I don't have anything down on that side. I do have the hot pond that we already took care of, but since we purchased this property, I have no signage down there. I think I do have a dog park sign is about it, but don't have anything as far as the conservation pond, because I don't know how to address that.
From a perspective of like, city government purposes and funding and things like that, is there a benefit to having it Admiral Longley a separate park and then Conservation Park as a separate park? You know, like we've got, these are two different parks.
It's all one parcel. I think they go for grants and such with
Yeah, it's fine.
DNR. They're all just,
Yeah.
they took up the space. And if you're going to do something, actually parcels, because they take ownership of part of it too when you go
Bigger
after.
parcel
the
is, the
grants.
easier grant.
Excuse me?
I said, isn't the bigger the parcel is, the easier the grant?
Yes, yeah.
I couldn't hear what you said, John.
The bigger the
The bigger the
parts-
parcel, the easier the grant. So if it's,
So it's better to
That's,
keep it.
yeah, all entailed now is 75 acres, versus the 56 that we had down there prior, so.
But do you think maybe, even I'd be willing to sit in and meet with public safety to see what they want us to designate, because those should be in their system, the
Yeah,
way
I've
they
been
would.
working with Robert Wiry on that.
Okay.
And he had some other very important business that he's been
Right.
taking care of, so that is a conversation that we've had.
Okay, that's,
We are trying to figure it out, and trying to figure out a splash pad and address to put there.
okay.
That's everything.
Yeah, because it would
We'll
be,
keep working at it, and then I'll come back to you, and maybe we come up with an idea of running something for the name or what have you.
okay.
And that's all. Any other questions on the old business? I'm making this a long meeting, aren't I? There you go.
It's last month and this month combined, right?
Yeah, it's 2 months worth of talk. Under new business, I'll be happy to introduce if you want me to.
Okay, that's fine. Go right
Under
ahead.
new business, first will be Heidi Susong, talking about memorial or something that she'd like to address the park board with. Her dad, I will tell you, Ron Ebert, volunteered for over 40 years down at the baseball field, and he has no idea that they're coming to talk, so that's why it wasn't on your agendas prior to this, kind of keeping it on the down low. But she'd like to honor her father, and she thought I'll let her speak on it. And anyway,
Okay.
that's just a little update on an introduction. So. And this is Heidi Susong. There you go. And her sister. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, and I want to thank John and Jessica Lawler. I reached out to her last month, and when it was a snowstorm, and so then she got back with me and rescheduled for tonight. So we thank you for letting us present. This is my sister, Cara Bell, and our dad, is Ron Ebert, and many of you know him. He had a pharmacy business here for many years, but the reason why we're here tonight is he gave a lot of his time in this community, and I don't think people realize the commitment that he gave for 45 years. And myself personally, I don't know anyone in my lifetime that has volunteered for 45 years for something. And it wasn't just a 3-month commitment every year. It was like 9 months. He'd have to find team members every year. He'd do the uniforms. He'd go around finding merchants to help sponsor the team. And then all summer long, he'd spent, and John knows, he would clean the toilets beginning of the summer, he would clean the dugouts, and even after the season, he would help clean up, But he just gave so much of his time, and so many players, he touched so many of their lives throughout the years. He even helped Western Boone with their baseball program, Lebanon, the Little League. But most of his time his games were at Lebanon Memorial Park. And that's how he went to school. And he got a scholarship to Butler to play baseball. And that's how he went to school. He actually played for the Lebanon Merchants when he was in college for Whitmore, I think is the name. And so that year that he gave it up, my dad took it over, and he never missed a year. And he would probably still be doing it if it wasn't for his health. He had some issues with his health and because of COVID. But why we're here tonight is we just think something needs to be done in honor of our dad. And I personally, and I know other people feel this way. In fact, even as last year when people knew that he was giving up coaching, he had former players come out and to the game, and he just touched so many lives, and so we would even pay for a plaque, but we think that the baseball field should be named after my dad, and that's why we're here tonight. And
we actually have some former letters from players who had played for him. I don't know if you want just us to pass them to you guys, or if you want us to read those aloud. It's just from players.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. This was from a letter from a former player. His name was Barry Vennard, and he played for my dad. He just said, "To whom it may concern, I had the pleasure of playing for the Lebanon Merchants for several years, starting in 1981. As a young, impressionable student who had just completed his freshman year of college, I was thankful to have Ron Ebert as my coach. Ron was not only an excellent baseball coach, but more importantly, he was a mentor for myself and the other players on the team. Ron was the type of coach that many other coaches aspire to be, yet most have never or will never reach his level. I had many coaches who knew the game of baseball, but couldn't convey it to their players. This was not Ron. Not only did he make the game fun, but he kept the players grounded and taught us life lessons. While I loved my baseball time with Ron, my respect for him has much more to do with life than baseball. I knew I would never be good enough to play baseball at a high level, but thankfully I had a mentor in Ron Ebert that helped shape the person that I am today. I'm a better person for having had Ron in my life. I'm sure I'm not the only former player who feels this way. While I can speak for the hundreds of players Ron has coached during his 40-plus years of dedicated coaching and community service, it would make me proud to say that I played for the coach who has a field named after him. I hope the board votes in favor of naming the baseball diamond Ebert Field. Ron Ebert is synonymous with baseball in Lebanon."
And I forgot to mention too that this is how he is, but just like if he knew we were doing this tonight, I hope he's not watching the TV because I would be grounded, I'm sure. But anyway, or we would be. He was just so he gave, so the money that was left over, he gave from the baseball team, he gave to the park, and he gave to Lebanon High School, to Phil Levine, for the boys' high school program, and to the girls' softball team, because he knew that the team just wasn't going to continue. Just no one took it over. So that's why we just think this is so important. Like I said, of all of his time, all those years, 45 years, we just think something needs to be done, and yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why we came here tonight to present this. So.
Okay. I totally appreciate and I know everybody does everything that your father did for the baseball, and we appreciate all of our volunteers so much through the park. And this is where I come. I struggled with this. We have people that, like your father, we wouldn't have the baseball field, the caliber of the buildings, and the whole program if it wasn't for a lot of people. That's where I was struggling, because I know of one person that's put 50 years in and you know, spent money and his time to fix up the field and spend time doing all that. And that's just one of the tip of the iceberg. And as much as I appreciate all of them, and possibly we need to do some kind of recognition, but I think we need to do some research and include everybody. That's where I struggle about naming the field after one person. Or I know years ago they tried to name the field after someone, and I know it didn't happen. But it didn't happen because there's so many people. And I appreciate the fact that we have that many people, that we probably need to recognize, to put our history together and recognize these people, because without people like your father and all of these other people, we wouldn't have the baseball field that we have and the program that we have. But I can't, and I'm just speaking for myself, this is a park board, but I can't bring myself when I know, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of the people that I know, like I know 120 years, 130 years, 150 years. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'd like to do our research and recognize everybody, but that's where I can't come to naming the field after one person.
Can we take it under advisement? I
Yes,
mean,
we can take it
in
up.
our
I mean, and
privately.
I'm just speaking on behalf of me, not the board, so.
Well, I just think something needs to be done for him. I just don't know anybody. I seriously don't know anybody in this town that gave that many years to baseball here.
Oh,
And all of his
there
time.
are several. I mean, I'm just saying there are several, because I have looked into it. But I'm just speaking on behalf of me, not the whole board. So I'll just open it up to
I'd
the
love to know
board.
who those are.
Hmm?
I'd love to know who those people are. Yeah, me too.
Okay, that's not a
I mean,
problem.
Whit,
I'd love to know.
Whitmer's one.
Well, I don't think, no, he didn't coach that many years.
Keith Campbell,
He did
Bobby
not-
Joe.
He did not coach that many years either.
Bobby, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not
he-
here, I'm not here to argue,
not
I'm
either.
just stating what I'm
telling you.
saying,
Yeah,
okay?
we just
This-
know. We've lived here. and
Well,
know-
I have too.
Well, but we grew up with this, and I know the history
Okay.
behind it.
I'm not here to start an argument. I stated my feelings. It's up to the rest of the board now.
I just think we'll take it under advisement and vote at a different time. I don't
No, I'm
don't
not.
feel
I was just
comfortable.
saying
Yeah,
mine.
I don't feel comfortable voting this evening.
Well, and I would like to know, like, either from you, John, as far as Parks Department, or even from the city, do we have some protocol that we have guidelines to follow for entertaining the ideas of naming people that have contributed so significantly?
I just found this out at 6 o'clock this evening, that the park, this was brought before the park before, and it's crazy because I had no idea. I knew Whit was big into baseball, but people came forward before about Whit to name the field, and the park board voted it down. So precedence would be that it was voted down.
But is there a protocol? Do we have some, like,
There is no
established
protocol. No,
guidelines
we
or
don't have
anything?
any.
No.
Youth football have the same issues. People have built that with the construction of the youth, or of the baseball field and all that. I think a lot of it was donated time with several people. Doug Jones, the the scoreboard was donated from Doug Jones, a professional baseball player. He donated that. Ron, character-wise, outstanding man. I love him. I mean, he is second to none, and he did give to the parks. I don't know where to go. That's why I've struggled to get back with Heidi on it. I mean, we've had a couple conversations. I don't know where to go with that, because I would feel horrible to leave other people's names out. Whitmer, I didn't even remember him. I remember Bo Jackson, and she's probably absolutely correct. There again, I don't know who's coached how long. People have donated a lot, and that's what troubles me on naming something. I know we did name the basketball courts Rick Mount. That sign got taken down within a couple weeks. It is no longer there. But no protocols, there's no I know Rick Mount was named, but I think, again, the city council named it that. I don't know that the park board. I didn't find out about Whitmer until 6 o'clock, I think, 6:15. I was told, hey, the park board has already voted on Whitmer, and Whit was a great man too. I didn't know him that well, but he was involved in baseball too.
You mentioned earlier that Reese Park was named after a particular individual,
Yes, that
former
was made
mayor.
by the city council. That was not a park board.
Oh.
Yeah, but the city council did name that.
Maybe the city has protocol for that.
To be quite honest, I don't know. You have an authority to you are a board, but
Is there
that's
other,
something maybe we check into. That's why I've struggled with this, and I don't know how to answer. I love the guy. I mean, he is, you know how to know your problem.
Even the baseball dugout, like,
I just think something, I mean.
Yeah.
I just don't know anyone, like, that's volunteered that many years. And yes, we're proud of our dad, of course, but
Like I said, I mean, it's a huge commitment, and I don't know anyone personally.
Yeah, Can you speak into the microphone? They can't hear you.
hey, John, is there any other parks or any other
Jump up here.
agencies around that do that, where they actually put somebody's name on their baseball diamond, or?
I'm sure there are. I'd have to research it. I don't know. I've been asking people, hey, how can we go about this to do things? And
'Cause I'm pretty sure that
several of you to, hey, can we put plaques up? Can we do something?
Right. And I could see doing some type of plaques or something like that.
Like a wall of honor, say
Yeah,
you
I have a hard time.
Wall of honor, and then there again, where do we go? Is it volunteers only? Is it baseball players? Is it people that have donated? Is it people that walk along?
Yeah.
I would-
Baseball, I don't know where we go with that. That's why I've struggled with it, and it troubles me. I love the guy myself. He's been very good to me. And like she said, he's cleaned the restroom, kept it the cleanest press box I've ever seen. When he came in, it was cleaner than when he left. I'm just saying. And you guys work a lot of hours there, I think, too. But, yeah, I don't know. That's why it's brought to you, because I don't know where to go with it and what decisions, if you table it and discuss it, or how you do it. I don't know, but.
I think I'd make a move that we table it and discuss it and try to come up with maybe a solution, or at least maybe some type of resolution at our next meeting.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Before you girls leave, Heidi, before you leave, could I make a quick suggestion? We have a Boone County Basketball Hall of Fame, but I could not find a baseball Hall of Fame, a local baseball Hall of Fame. That might be a good project for you girls, and they induct new members every year that they honor and give a plaque or whatever, and it would be fairly easy to start. And you've already done a lot of research, I'm sure.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And another addition to the new business, a discussion of canoeing at the conservation pond. And how this all came about, to give you a little backstory, Pascal and I meet on a regular basis. His base program comes to our Seashore Water Park. And I had discussed at one point, I said, I'd like to do a program where we have canoeing. And at that time, the conservation pond was all fenced in and covered everything. But I said it'd be nice if Allison, so Allison has been looking into it, then COVID hit, so we've kind of nixed that. But I thought it'd be a good educational and a good program for kids where we could teach them safety and all these other things. And Pascal, I think do you want to speak tonight? Yeah, and speak on that. Yes, and Pascal, basically.
Have you met Pascal?
I think he's, if you haven't met Pascal, he's the director of the mental health and a great partner of the parks, but I'll let him go from there.
Well, always an honor to meet in front of you guys. Wasn't expecting this, and I'm usually pretty shy in front of a mic, but I pushed through.
We know better.
So, yes, we've been running a summer camp and a base program. I basically operate 300 days a year doing something. And we've been trying to elevate our services to the youth and make it as positive as we can. And I think maybe some of you know that we've purchased the former Mason Lodge, and we're going to basically have a Growing Minds Learning Center there, all combined with a nature park that we already have built. And we're really going back into our educational process through nature, learning with nature rather than about nature. But we also want to make it fun. And so we just, as we talked to Lauren about coming up with a program for our youth through the park with us, however we want to call it, canoeing came about. And I think it's just a wonderful idea and possibly eventually a revenue source for the park. Depending, I mean, we could include canoes, paddle boats, rent them out, or what have you. But as far as the program that we want to work through the summer, mental health wants to purchase canoes, and one way or the other, we'd rather keep it here in Lebanon, but we are purchasing canoes that we can utilize somewhere. So it's a question of how far we go with them. And if we can do that, and we can do that at what I am now calling the cold pond, across from the hot pond. You guys wanted some names, don't you? But we utilize a splash pad. We utilize a lot of the park and run our activities through and with the park. And we just started having a vision of having a nature-based program at the conservation park, whatever it might become, including using the pond. We could have the canoes and learn how, basically how to get there, how to get in, how to get out, water safety. If we purchase 5 to 6 canoes to start with, we could have 15 children at a time doing regular, course runs. The canoes each sit 3 individuals, so we'd always have an adult in the middle to make sure that, unless we have older kids that can do it on their own. But also at the same time, we take an extra 15 kids to where we could do some nature studies, nature scavenger hunts, and nature hikes through our park system. And so a combination of fun and learning altogether. And we are, and I don't know if I said this to John, but I know I talked to Taylor about it. We would be more than willing to actually let, wherever we store the canoes, we could leave them there. We would be more than willing to let the park utilize those canoes. So there would be no expense for the park. So they could use them for their use that go through their activities and so on. We just think it'd be a great partnership as you go along. As I said earlier, I haven't looked at all the logistics, but I could see it as being a potential revenue stream, possibly small, but who knows, for the park, either leasing some canoes, allowing some outside groups to come in and learn more about it and utilize them for the youth that come to a regular park activity. So we would basically share the canoes with the park. And then, I don't know, maybe ask John to storm during the winter. I've got places to storm too, but we just think it'd be a great partnership. It'd be a great attraction, something that I don't think we're doing in Lebanon or Boone County right now. and we could have the first responder teach about water safety. I mean, there's all kinds of educational components that we could have, as well as fun and positive activities. And here's the best part. We put those kids in the canoe, they don't have access to Wi-Fi.
Don't let them have their phone in their pocket.
Pardon me?
Don't let them have their phone in their pocket.
Well, actually, it's funny you should say that. During our summer camp, we are having technology-free weeks. And I don't mean that they get technology for free. I mean, they put it in the basket when they walk in. We're going to go back to the basics. You know, I'm 62 years old, so I've been around, and I remember not playing with my phone or being able to carry a phone for that matter, or a computer or whatever, and we had a whole lot of fun. And I think the cognitive behavior benefits that we would have by bringing these kids back into nature and positive activity would be just enormous. And you have an educator on board here. I think she could agree with that.
For sure.
But I just feel like it would be a great activity for our city, our county, and a great partnership that we already have. And like I said, I think we can keep that cost minimal because we're gonna put up some front money for it ourselves. You know, I'm repeating myself now. We're going to do it one way or the other. We just like to do it here.
How many canoes are you getting?
Well, I'm going to start with 5 or 6 of them, and they're all 3-seaters. You know, I'm one of my side jobs is to reach into people's pockets, so it may be a 7th, 8th, 9th canoe. I've contacted, you know, Durham, Dick's, a couple others, and as a not-for-profit, first of all, I don't pay taxes, so that makes it a little bit lower. I've already got some deals going to where we're getting 15-20% off the canoes. So the cost is right now I've got it about $5.50 a canoe, which is really good. You know, I've got one of them convinced that there's no way I can buy a canoe without him giving me paddles. They sell them separately, but I said, that's stupid. It should come with
All right.
So, you know, we're going to do, I mean, being a not-for-profit, we don't call it stealing, but we definitely go after their money the best we can. So we're going to try to get as many. But we had 5, again, like I said, it's a 3-seater. That's, you know, we could take 30 kids at a time to the park and to do the combined activity that include, like I said, nature studies, nature. For that matter, I don't know, is there fish in that pond? You know, we could have them fishing, all kinds of things, and then run. How deep is the pond? Yeah, see, we could easily
Deeper than that.
create a quick race course, you know, with some buoys. Just while we're there, teach them how to run it and teach them how to utilize it, you know, safely, but also for fun.
I guess I've got a couple of questions, or at least a couple of problems with it. Insurance-wise, obviously, if we come in and, you know, we're utilizing your canoes and something happens and, you know, we're renting it out or whatever, something happens to the canoe, who takes care of that? Who takes care of
Well, obviously, as long as we're using it, we're going to be covered by our liability. As far as doing a partnership, you know, you carry a little bit of different liabilities than I do being a city and all. So we would have to get our insurance companies together and see how it can be best done. It can be done. It's not, you know, there's canoe rental places everywhere.
And I agree with you. I think it would be a neat idea, but I also understand that pond's not that big. And if you've got 6 canoes out there and you got people out there fishing, I mean,
I don't think you could have fishing and canoeing at the same
I
time.
don't either. I mean, it's not a lake. It's a small pond.
Okay, I only brought up the fishing for us, you know, because we
No.
could definitely control part of our kids while the other kids were canoeing.
But you can't, if I'm out there fishing, you can't tell me I can't fish on a public property. So what I'm saying is if you're out there in your canoe and you're doing your little thing, you've got 5 or 6 canoes out there, and then you've got 2 or 3 guys over here fishing. It's too small of an area for 5 or 6, in my opinion, it's too small of an area for 5 or 6 canoes, and you've got people out there casting line.
I fully agree with you, and the logistics would have to be worked out. I don't know if there can be a schedule. You know, we bring 150 kids to the pool, a little different story, but we managed to do it and schedule it properly so we don't get in the way and don't affect the revenue of all the rest of the people coming. You know, I'm pretty good about figuring logistics. Right now you have a vision that we need to present to you as a good idea. Like I said, if we can do it as a partnership for the city, I think it's advantageous it would be advantageous to the city. If not, I'm still going to canoe for our kids, so the city will still get it. Some of those logistics are going to have to be worked out. And I agree, it absolutely cannot fish and canoe at the same time. One or the other is going to get upset, there's no doubt. As far as us doing it, it's not like we would go out there for 6 hours at a time. You know, and we would probably beat anybody that is coming out there to fish to do our activities. It would have to be worked out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we find another solution.
So should we maybe sit and discuss this, like a couple people on a committee and discuss it with John and Allison? Wasn't Allison looking at some of those
Yeah,
things?
she's looking at, yeah, Allison is looking into rentals, because I thought if we could do a rental, there again, we looked at it some time ago, and it's quite costly, but to do a little program, but, you know, you brought up other concerns. We haven't checked into insurance, we haven't done our due diligence yet.
So that's
Well,
what I'm saying.
What keeps also in the sense of they're out there one day and the next day Joe Smith sees it and he sees them out there and that they're out there canoeing and, oh, well, I'm gonna go get my canoe over at my house and put it in.
That's something that we want to address the park board. Are you gonna allow boats? Are you gonna allow canoeing? Are you gonna have?
I don't
once
think it's
one
that
person
big.
does it? Well, mental health did it, or it's a park. That's why I thought if it's a parks program and we teamed up, that we could possibly pull it off as a parks program, but nobody else. But again, yeah, you could catch heck tomorrow from
Yeah.
15 citizens or one going, hey, you allowed them to do it, I should be able to.
I should be able to put my boat in. I should be able to.
I have a concern about the size, and then I have concern because our dock, we really need to do some work on that also.
Well, that's another thing that we have to kind of look at is, can it be done? Heck yeah, can it be done? Can we close down the pond today for canoeing only or whatever? Yeah. We have to have public safety. Do we have public safety out there, lifeguards out there? I mean, what's the insurance going to require us to do? I haven't got into the weeds yet on all that. It was just an idea that Pascal and I talked about and thought, boy, get the kids out. That's the whole initiative. But they do have, Boone's Pond has a great boat ramp there. I mean, that's another place we could pull it off. It's a state pond that's upkept there. And it does have an actual boat dock where you could get on and off, probably safer there again. And we haven't done a grid pattern yet on the pond to find how deep it is. That's going to be done. It's on Billy's list.
I'll bet you'd be surprised how deep it is.
Yeah, Billy said 20 feet. I've heard 8, so I don't know.
I
And it
figured it's
drops a
25
lot.
or 30.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
For most canoeing, you don't need a boat dock. That's part of the education process, how to get there and how not to get there. As far as letting other people, I mean, you put rules out. You have rules for everything. And we're not talking about free will in canoeing. We're talking about bringing in the program. So if somebody comes in, and they're going to ask, sure, they're going to see somebody canoeing, they say, can I do that? Well, no, you can't, because this is part of a program. You know, there can be rules and regulation put out to prevent that and still allow for the park to have a program. You know, you can only canoe if the park staff is there or what have you. I mean, there is ways around it. There's a lot of studying and there's a lot of things to come up with. But it can be done, according to our insurance guys, it can be done at minimal liability. I mean, definitely. I mean, you have a swimming pool and you have.
The other thing, John, you gotta think of is we can't close the park.
Yeah, what?
Cannot close a park.
Yes,
So you can't just close it for him
Yeah,
to go out there and,
yeah, that's why, maybe we can't.
I'm saying prevent him to from canoeing. If you don't want anybody but a program to canoe, you have to set it. It's efficient, and it's great for
There
this
you go, in
community.
front of the mic, you can't talk there, you go, talk.
John, have you had anybody in recent years ask to put any kind of boat or canoe on there since we've been opening it up for fishing and
At the
stuff?
hog pond, but never at the conservation pond. There were people that wanted the gate open to drive around it, but that was about it. And
Okay.
fish out of their vehicles or what have you, like the olden day when it was Conservation Club. But nothing, nobody ever asked to do a pond. We do put a boat out there, and that's for treatment only. When we go out to treat or clean things up, that's the only time that we allow somebody that we hire out, or we do it ourselves. But that's why I came to you, because there's lots of ideas and lots of things to think about, so. thought
Needs
I'd
more
bring it to
discussion.
The park board, yes, absolutely. Got you some good ones tonight. There you go.
Well, I think maybe if we can only have 2 people, if we put a committee to meet and maybe discuss with you and Allison.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Does anybody want to volunteer? We can only have 2 people because we can't have a quorum. I'm looking at you,
I know you
Julie.
are. I know you are.
You love the conservation park. You renamed it. I volunteer Shirley.
I've got enough on my plate.
You have a lot of good ideas, John.
I can, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, and I'm not opposed to it at all. It's just,
No,
again.
there's just a lot of questions.
I go back, I mean, I've been there many, many, many times, and having that many canoes and having, even if we had 2 or 3 people out there and maybe one's fishing, there's just not a lot of room to do. I mean, to me, 6 canoes just like Lebanon Street. I mean, eventually.
jam.
Yeah, eventually you're just, it's just not a big enough area, for me, anyway.
And I wouldn't bring this to the park board if it wasn't something out of the ordinary. Park programs have no problem firing up a bunch of programs. Allison's good at that, but this one, there were other variables in there, and I thought the park board should address it, because there are a lot of things to think about, but there you go. Go ahead.
I just want to address that. I agree it's a small pond, which is specifically why it'd be a great pond for a program. This is not free-wheeling canoe. It would be controlled canoeing. So the 6 would not be just going anywhere. That's the big difference. Whether you allow somebody to just throw a canoe in, yeah, that's going to be bad. If you allow a teaching program to come in, that's a whole lot different. So it's not going to be Lebanon Street. It's going to be a lot more controlled than Lebanon Street. Imagine Lebanon Street with more street lights.
All righty.
Okay, we had a change. It'll be John and Jessica.
You'll be what?
John and Jessica.
Well, fine, you didn't want to help me? Don't tell me you have too much on your plate.
Now John's going to be offended.
And I thank you, Pat, put you on the spot. You came.
Okay, so we're going to,
Now, if Shirley,
You gotta get in front of this.
if Shirley's not going to cut it on the committee, then I'm going to call it Coal Pond.
okay, so.
Thank you, Pascal.
If we make a motion to table this and form the committee to discuss it, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we table it
Second.
till we can talk more about it and get more informed.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Okay,
That concludes the new business.
New business. Take a restroom break.
Restroom break, there we go.
okay, John.
But it is almost 20 to
Now for
1.
the director's report. All right.
Can you speed read?
Could we just
Can you
read?
speed read?
Short and sweet.
Could we just read it when we get
Our
home?
open interviews for Seashore Water Park on January 29th and February 12th. We had a great turnout for both our lifeguard and concession stand positions. We're currently in the process of notifying those that we are going to hire and the others that we are not going to hire. I think we had all in all, we have 17 positions open, and I think we had 30, so we'll probably go with 25, so we have some extras there. Great turnout, couldn't be happier with the turnout. We hired a company to service our motor pumps that operate our pools. This should be done every 3 to 5 years. We've really gotten by with it. It's quite an expense, but we've gotten by with it up to now. It'll help keep our facility operating efficiently. There again, they came out and looked. They were really surprised how good a shape they are, but they are showing their age, and we don't want them to shut down in the middle of pool season. New signage also is in the process of being fabricated, be installed before the season. We do have some concrete patching to do on the pool vessel and a couple of block walls, and our maintenance crew, Billy Smith, our superintendent's going to have it done before you know it. We also got to repair the drinking fountains, and we'll replace them. Logan Banks passed his CPO class and will take on a new role with maintaining the water park and splash pad. Cole Henry's done a fine job since we've opened. And as far as that, he will be helping Logan with the learning curve on the facility. Cole will be taking over other duties in the park system. We have removed 4 trees on the east side of the hop pond close to the surrounding houses. A couple of them dead, and we were real concerned about those things falling on the houses. I want to thank Kurt Freshour. He helped us with the work. Also, some trees at Abner Longley Park and Memorial Park have been removed for the safety and are also because they interfered with the lighting project, but they were in bad shape too. We took those down ourselves. Our maintenance crews have removed some of the fencing at the conservation pond for the removal of trees and to prepare for the Big 4 trail installation. Potholes in the parks have been repaired thanks to Triangle Asphalt for their donation of the materials and our maintenance crew for taking care of those things. Maintenance did a great job of taking care of the snow and ice episodes we had the past couple of months in our parks, trails, downtown, and Gene Haas building. We have used approximately 14 tons of ice melt through these storms. The ice melt, we have to use ice melt. We can't use salt, so you got to put quite a bit down. After this last ice episode, you probably saw the downtown was blue. That was from our material that we put down. Again, John's in the business. I think he will tell you that we do a pretty darn good job of taking care of all the
Hey,
things.
you just absolutely ruined the closing of the meeting.
I did?
Yes, because I was going to commend all of you, how well you did downtown.
There you go.
I had 2 or 3 different people that I heard say, wow, this is awesome. All of it's clear, I can get where I need to go. So, yeah, again, make sure that you tell your guys, wonderful job.
Will do. That's great coming from you that is.
Ditto.
So,
Yes,
do
I agree.
appreciate that. They did. Many hours. I know people think about the streets and all that, but boy, from downtown, the front of those businesses, that wall around the courthouse, all 4 sides, we're taking care of that. And all the trails from the park all the way to downtown, all the way down Main Street, out Patterson. I mean, that's quite a bit. And apparently, we're going to have quite a bit more to do here after this year, after October, with going down the south side, which we're up for the challenge. Our office staff has been very busy preparing for our spring and summer season. Thomas Ingalls working out great. He's now fully trained and has completed transferring over all our dog park members into our in-house system. As you know, I think I reported earlier that we took over the admin for all the dog park. It's working out fantastic. Speed and a lot more pleasant people getting into the dog park. So commend Taylor on her expedition of this. He's also working on creating a spring break fitness challenge and working with Lori Frost on all the new hire information packets. Getting 60 packets ready for new hires I think you gotta rehire them every year. It's fun. As a mom, Jessica, don't you love it? Yeah.
Yes, lots of paperwork.
Yeah, there you go. It is quite a bit of paperwork, but Allison has met with the pickleball board, put a little board together to help us out and to prep for the upcoming leagues and tournaments. She's also been working on all our social media outlets, which we do our, I don't know, we have quite a bit. We're on everything. And updating our website for the 2022 year. Taylor has been working on closing out the encumbrances. That's the monies that we're bringing over from last year, along with handling the budget for the projects going on in our park system. Also want to commend Lori Frost. She puts in a lot of time. She is a part-time employee, but can't ask for somebody better managing that pool. She is outstanding and keeps us on our toes a lot around there, but she comes up with a lot of good ideas, and I can't thank her enough for all of her hard work and her caring and passion in the park, in the water park. Programs and events upcoming. Thank you to everyone who participated in our 2022 Snowman Building Contest. Congrats to our two winners, the Schenkel family and the Wilson family. Hard to choose. There were so many neat ones. I don't know if you got to see them all, but oh my gosh, an alligator? Who would do an alligator? Kitty cat. There was one that came in that there wasn't a whole lot of snow, so they just kind of carved it out. I thought that was very genius of how they did that. But, just to let you know who did the voting, it was non-biased, and it was all the park maintenance that came up and got to choose which ones and figured out those two were the best. Again, all of them were good. Thanks for participating in that. We will be posting about our spring pickleball league this week. Actually, we've already posted it. We will be offering 6 different divisions: men's, women's, doubles, co-ed doubles, men's doubles, women's doubles, co-ed doubles. Registration will close on March 31st. We've already had a few. We recently posted details about our Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 16th. The first hunt will start at 10:30, and age groups 2 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8 to 10. We hope to see you there. And with the spring pickleball, that brings up a sore spot, but also a tough spot. We reconditioned those courts 2 years ago. It cost around $30,000. We keep thinking pool expansion. Guess what? We had pretty hard winters and freezing and thawing, and they're cracking again. It wasn't guaranteed for that long, as I stated prior to that. We've looked in-house to patch these things, but I had a gentleman in 2 days ago, a little older than me, and he said, I'm really concerned about tripping and falling. We're going to have to address it. We're going to caulk it and try that. No company out there can get to it this year. I started asking them last fall. They're booked all this year. We're going to try to do it in-house and patch it up as best we can. What we really are going to have to address, just like I said prior to this meeting, happened to go by, there's five people out. I mean, obviously everybody's got spring fever now that it's 68 degrees today, but those courts are utilized. So if we're going to move the courts, if we're going to keep the courts, we need to figure out if we're going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and start getting pricing on lighting in case you want to move it. But that brings me to the last subject that we have, the pool expansion. We need to figure out how we're going to move this. A lot of variables come into play, and this is your decision. And we really need to be figuring out how we're going to do it. You had a lot of numbers thrown at you from Kevin this evening. This is going to be a lot of numbers too. I'm thinking if we move the pickleball courts, you're looking at over $500,000, maybe $700,000. Again, I don't have the details, and it could be triple that. Who knows with this day and age? I hate to guess on prices. But anyway, if we keep the courts where they are, move the pool around a little different way, maybe we can keep the courts there and we just recondition them like we did the basketball courts. Those are in fine shape, just by the way. We ripped them all out last year, did them the right way. They're fantastic, no cracks. anyway. There aren't any cracks for 2
So
years.
are they going to give us options from Hanaway
Yeah,
or
that's
Klein
something
so
I
we
just
can
thought I'd
see
get your
that?
input to, and you can be thinking about it, and I think Mr. Williams will flip over to this, and I'll kind of point it out.
Mr.
Hear me? I'll talk real loud. Here's what we are, here's the pickleball courts. If we move them, we'll have to move all the lighting. The discussion has been made that we move them down here in between the tennis courts, which all these trees are gone by the way now, in between the basketball courts, can you see, between the basketball courts and the volleyball, that would be one thing. We take away this, we could expand the pool there. The only thought about it is if we do, the line of sight is going to be difficult if we do it that way. So I want you all to think about that. If we move out this way, you kind of keep that beach entry that we want. However, you lose parking spaces. We could go ahead and move something possibly here, make this all parking spaces. But we've got to consider this shelter. This is 128 people that can get in that shelter. The largest shelter we have in the park system. Back over is another parking lot over here. I'm sorry, it's off the map, but if you're all familiar, there's a parking lot back there. We could put a handicap side, accessible sidewalk going to there, so you have parking here. Maybe you only keep these. You lose this space though. Shelter and you grow this way. Another thought is coming this way. And if you come this way, you still might have this to interfere with your line of sight. You got to think about that. So those are some of the issues that we're working through right now. I don't know, it's on down the road, but it's going to hit us quicker than what we know. And I'd just like everybody to keep that in before you do have discussions on this master plan, not only on the 5-year master plan, but it's also going to affect our pool expansion. So both those plans, we kind of, one the other. The pool expansion will affect the 5-year master plan. So keep that in your mind. If you have thoughts or any ideas on better ways or how to do it.
Can you send us a copy of that digitally so we can be
I
kind
sure
of looking
can.
and thinking
And
about
if you
that?
can mark it up and send it to me or stop in the park or whatever. But yes, I will get that out to everyone tomorrow. And just keep your brain on it, and then we can give the input back to our landscape architect, Deb Schmucker, from Cornerstone, who is doing our 5-year master plan, along with HWC Engineering that's doing our pool expansion, that's working on that. But all these, as we do this also, another thing to keep in, we have drainage issues that we have not addressed in our park. I don't know if you've been
We
by
need
them.
to do
Oh, yeah.
Find it everywhere.
Yeah.
This is horrible. Part of the 5-year or the pool expansion, we have to address. So we're at the point now that the water needs addressed. We have too much water coming in. When we originally built or tore down the old pool and built this new one, right out of the gates, we had all the motors flood. Luckily, the engineers took care of it because it was their issues that brought the water into the pump house. The pumps obviously are way below ground level. We're going to have the same issues there, so the drainage will have to be addressed. HWC is kind enough to keep that under their contract and address those issues, because that's part of the pool expansion, is we'll have to address that.
Okay,
So they're
John.
coming up with some prices and cost on how big a drains we need, whether we need 24-inch or whatever we need, but we have to take care of those water issues, even if we keep the pickleball.
They need to be done, yeah.
Yeah.
But when we did the pool initially,
Yes.
there was a layout for a proposed expansion
Yes.
in our original thing. Do you still have that?
I do, and I'll send that if, yes, I will send that too. Yeah.
Okay,
But
because I know we asked them to put something together and they had,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and
But,
there again, we're at the initial stage, we just
Right.
met with them, and those are just some of the thoughts, and that didn't come out of that meeting, that's Lori Frost and some of us just thinking, hey, how are we gonna do this? Because we really need to decide that on what kind of features that we want to add to our existing pools. So
Right.
those are something that I'll send that out to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that's in stone though, just because we thought that's where the pool.
No, but I wanted to have some idea, because I remember.
Yeah, some of the things we've discussed too, just in these, the short meetings we've had and some of the, is to get rid of the lazy river that we have now, the small one, and possibly bigger, make a bigger lazy river, because that's pretty tiny. Maybe make a feature go into that little pool of water or vessel, utilize it as swim lesson area too, if you take all the middle out. I mean, there's plenty of options which you'll be
Okay.
presented with and be able to input on that. But those are going to be some expenditures also coming up on down the line. The council does want to meet with the park board again, and we have another meeting to talk budgets and monies, which is always a good thing, that we have good communication with our council, another funding source and a big funding source that we have. Kevin did mention earlier about the monies that we'll have coming in on the park impact fees. Yeah, it's not going to be huge right now, and it'll grow over time, but possibly another park that we need to be thinking of park ground on this 5-year master plan. I mean, you know, our ideas and your ideas and your motions are what's important. So, you know, we need to expand on that. Now that we're growing in all different areas and getting bigger, we aren't getting any smaller. We need to think of, do we have enough park ground? And obviously with the 5-year master plan, that will let you know where we are comparatively to park ground versus population.
Okay.
I have two questions for you.
Oh, okay.
One, on the pickleball courts, are our current number of courts sufficient? If you're thinking about moving them, do we need to be thinking about growing them?
I don't know that they are, to be quite honest. I know that we did take out tennis courts, and they're all pickleball, and they are utilized a lot. We only have one tennis court, my mistake. It's down at South there, Abner Longley. I think we need tennis courts and probably more pickleball. Pickleball is huge now, and maybe, I don't see a lot at the high school playing, but I'm not saying that if we don't have it, they won't come. So I'd say we do need to have tennis courts too. I don't know, but there's an expansion that we probably need to do, yes.
That needs to be factored into when we think
Sure
about that
does.
space.
Yeah.
Sure does.
And then, I think you skipped over this fitness challenge item on the
Oh, I
list.
did? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's my
I'm just curious what that is about.
fitness challenge. Where did I leave
It's
it?
the top of the second page.
Top of the second page, of course. Let me go back through, I'm sorry. I was trying to, I was fully trained.
So later in March, we'll be starting a fitness challenge in the park that will end on April 8th.
Yes, and she has not rolled that out yet. She's going to roll that out probably this week sometime. She's been off a couple days, had some sick kids, but that will be rolled out this week. And the fitness challenge, she discussed it with me, and quite frankly, I'm going blank right now.
Okay, that's all right. It's late.
Yeah.
John, what did you say? You said that the pickleball courts now need some attention.
Yes, they do. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're not going to dress it up for the 30,000. We're going to try possibly in-house. I'm getting a price to have just the caulking done. But boy, you shut those things down and we're going to have.
What did we spend 8 months ago or whatever it was?
No, it was actually 2 years ago, $27,000.
To top them, to do
Yeah.
that,
And what
kind
we
of
did
put a
on
Band-Aid
that, I mean,
on.
but you had bigger craters and things, but that company can't even come back out, and they are the best.
Well, I would definitely, at least on my end, if I'm allowed to say, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on them anymore. I said that the last time.
We don't
We
have
need-
that
we
kind
need
of
to
money
fix
this
them.
year. Our budget's really tight this year, so what we're looking at is maybe a couple $1,000s at best to patch it, and if we don't patch it, somebody could get hurt. We aren't gonna put orange fence around it and close it down, because there'll be an upheaval. And
Are
all.
those the only ones? I was thinking there was another set someplace else, is there
Yeah,
not?
south side, and
Oh.
they're showing, we're gonna do that down there too, we have to. I mean, it's getting to be a hazard, and what has happened is, just like they said it would, it's gonna crack open with freezing and thawing, and unless you do like you did with the basketball courts.
You gotta
where
tear them out and start over.
You gotta tar.
I mean, you can't Band-Aid them.
Right. It's just, are we gonna do it in that area? That's a big decision that has to be made.
Well, we need to
$30,000
address the
waste.
drainage there.
Yes, yeah,
I
the
mean,
drainage down there too.
number one.
We have a sinkhole that's right down in that
Yeah.
area what has happened, I believe, is drainage tile. We're gonna address some drainage ourselves, in-house, just because the budget is so tight. From the playground, we have some runoffs, and those aren't getting tied into any tile because there's no tile over there. So we're gonna dig up part of the park right across where that old barbecue by Joe Hallbush Memorial to tie in over there. We're gonna get a mini excavator, and with the talent that we have in our park system, we're fortunate enough to have the talent. We're gonna do that in-house, and we gotta get that water out of there, or we're really gonna be in some trouble.
Yeah, I agree with John.
If you've been down the
The
playground, it's
Band-Aid,
mushy
that's
right now,
too much
so
money.
We don't need
I
that.
voted against it, I just,
But yeah, that's just some things to ponder. I wanted to throw it out there now, so you're all thinking that way, so when we do approach you with Deb Schmucker and the 5-year master plan, and also the pool expansion that you're thinking, okay, so take a drive through the park, kind of put it in your head. I will send those out, though, Diane, to make sure that everybody receives those.
Okay.
John, roughly out of the $1 million that we were given from the council, where do we stand in regards to what's left on that?
The million? The projects really haven't, we paid, I think, 50% for the electric because they're 50% complete. I've made no purchases because they haven't delivered our equipment yet for playground or anything, so that's not out. We did pay for asphalt that was done last year. There again, I'm not sure that was out of that bond issuance too. I have the numbers, whatever it was. I was thinking it's, golly, 54,000 probably there. I'm not sure what that number is. And that also took care of the basketball courts. But yeah, no, I have a tally.
I would love to have like a itemized list.
For that too, for the bond issuance? No.
Yeah, so that we can see where that money went.
I can do that. And right now, a lot of it hasn't come out yet because
Understood.
obviously those aren't complete. And with those monies too, with the bond issuance, any monies that are issued through the city council do not come through the park board. Those have to go through the Board of Works and through the council to approve those monies. Like your claims now, that is all park levy money. So I'll still, it's freedom of information too, but you're the park board, you need to know. I'll send it to you, no problem.
And I'd like to know where it went.
And
I
just
know
so
there's
you
not
know
much.
why you haven't seen it is because that money was issued and given, or not given from the council.
Understand.
So that's a separate sheet that doesn't go to, We are tracking it, got a spreadsheet, send you the spreadsheet, got it.
Yeah, just curiosity, I mean, not that I question anyone doing it.
No, I know, same here, I just wanted you to know why.
That's why I like you to do this, so that every month I know where you're at as far as your expenses.
Yeah, and it's gonna be tight this year, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
The prices of everything, I think anybody knows, it's all going up. Thank goodness we ordered this material for the playground and lights back in June, because I think one of them's already tripled in price.
I don't know, I enjoyed filling my truck up today, and it was $198.50.
Smaller tanks, that's all I gotta say. No, that's all I had. I appreciate everybody's time. It's been a couple-hour meeting. Haven't had one of these in a few years.
Why?
I think my first one was 4 hours that I had, my first park board meeting.
That was nice.
We had a tape recorder back then, and you should try and do minutes off the tape recorder.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Okay, if everybody's had a chance to look at the claims, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
I move we approve the claims as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the board, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think I got a motion and a second.
With a cheer.
With a cheer. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.